Welcome. We bring you Japan's latest news every day. AI sums up what matters, so you can stay informed in English in just a few minutes. If you find it helpful, please like and subscribe. Sano City in Tochigi lifts emergency safety alert as flood risk from Hatakigawa River subsides. Sano City in Tochigi Prefecture has lifted the emergency safety ensure alert that had been issued citywide at 5 p.m. on the 18th, following a decline in water levels in the Hatakigawa River that flows through the city. The river had faced heightened flood risk due to earlier heavy rains, but with subsequent improvements in weather conditions and dropping water levels, the city determined that the danger has diminished. Sano City says it will continue to monitor river water levels while working to ensure the safety of its residents. Smoke detected on Toyoko line. Service suspended between Shibuya and Jiyugaoka stations. Smoke was detected coming from a train car at Nakameguro station on the Tokyu-Toyoko line on the 18th at approximately 3 p.m. In response, train service has been suspended in both directions between Shibuya station and Jiyugaoka station. Currently, safety checks for passengers and an investigation into the cause of the smoke are underway. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused to our passengers. Details regarding service resumption will be announced as soon as information becomes available. Toyoko line users are advised to check for the latest updates. 7 years since Kyoto animation arson attack, memorial service held at studio site in Kyoto. July 18 marks 7 years since the arson attack on Kyoto Animation's Studio 1. In July 2019, the studio was set ablaze, claiming the lives of 36 employees in a tragedy that continues to be remembered today. A memorial service was held at the site of the former studio, attended by bereaved families, related parties, and industry figures. In solemn silence, participants offered prayers for the deceased employees and wished for their souls to rest in peace. It was a time to reflect once again on the many talented lives lost that day. Since then, Kyoto Animation has resumed its creative work in a new studio, continuing production while honoring the legacy and spirit of the employees who perished. Verification project on ABC Conjecture. Proof says, no timeline for conclusion in sight. Verification efforts surrounding the proof of the mathematical problem known as the ABC Conjecture are facing difficulties. An international research project examining the validity of a theory claimed to be proven by a Japanese mathematician released an interim report on the 17th. According to the report, there is currently no timeline for reaching a conclusion. The ABC conjecture is an unsolved problem in number theory that has been proposed for over 30 years, and if this proof is accepted, it would represent a major achievement in mathematical history. However, the proof's content is extremely complex, and rigorous verification by mathematicians worldwide is required. The project plans to continue deliberations with caution. Hamaoka nuclear plant data falsification erodes public trust in nuclear power industry, says Federation of Electric Power Companies chairman. Regarding Shibuya Electric Power's continued falsification of data processing even after the Nuclear Regulation Authority requested explanations during safety reviews of the Hamaoka nuclear power plant, Nozomu Mori, chairman of the Federation of Electric Power Companies, commented that public trust in the nuclear power industry has been significantly undermined. Chairman Mori stated that such fraudulent practices are extremely regrettable as they damage the image of the entire industry. While Shibuya Electric Power has already disclosed details of the falsified data and says it is working on countermeasures to prevent recurrence, it appears that further efforts will be required to restore public confidence in nuclear safety and transparency. Latest technology reveals Horyu-ji Temple's Golden Hall murals in their pre-fire condition. Murals from the Golden Hall at Horyu-ji Temple in Ikuruga Town, Nara Prefecture, have been digitally restored to show their appearance before fire damage occurred. The murals suffered significant damage in a fire 77 years ago, but the restoration work has vividly brought back their original beauty as painted in the late 7th to early 8th century Asuka period. Using advanced techniques including infrared photography, the research team captured faint traces remaining beneath the fire-damaged sections and reconstructed them as digital images. Previously lost colors and fine details have now been revealed, allowing for a renewed appreciation of the artistic value from that era. The restoration is expected to make a significant contribution to the preservation and research of Japan's precious cultural heritage. Government to study practical implementation issues following passage of revised Imperial House Law, including procedures for adopting male heirs from former Imperial families. Following the passage of the revised Imperial House Law, the government has indicated its intention to move forward with examining practical issues aimed at securing the number of imperial family members. Relevant government ministries will coordinate to study concrete operational procedures, including the process for adopting male heirs from the paternal lines of former imperial families and legal measures related to changes in their status. The government is moving quickly to resolve these issues in preparation for implementation next year. Diet session extended as focus shifts to sub-capital proposal legislation. The diet session has been extended through the 25th of next week. In response, the ruling coalition has announced its policy to make every effort to ensure the passage of related legislation for the sub-capital initiative. The bill aims to transfer sub-capital functions to Osaka, which the ruling coalition has positioned as a key agenda for the current diet session. Meanwhile, the opposition parties have been leveling criticism, describing the bill as problematic. The opposition has pointed out concerns from fiscal and local autonomy perspectives, arguing that the bill has not undergone sufficient detailed examination. They are calling for a postponement of the vote. In future deliberations, how to address these opposition concerns will be the focal point. While the extended session means discussions will take place within a limited timeframe, intense debate between the ruling and opposition camps is expected. Lower house votes to extend current diet session by 8 days through the 25th. The House of Representatives passed a resolution today to extend the current diet session by 8 days through next week, the 25th. The resolution received support from the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, the Japan Innovation Party, Team Mirai, and other groups, securing majority backing. The extension of the session will allow sufficient time for deliberation and voting on scheduled bills. The extension is expected to accelerate the processing of important matters during the remaining session period. Apple raises iPhone prices in Japan by approximately 10%. American IT giant Apple has raised the selling price of iPhones in Japan by roughly 10%. The price increase is believed to reflect the impact of the ongoing yen depreciation. As exchange rates fluctuate significantly, imported products are heavily affected by currency movements. While Apple manufactures and sells products worldwide, the company directly feels the impact of exchange rate changes when exporting to Japan. The price hike is seen as a measure to maintain corporate profitability amid the continued strength of the dollar and weakness of the yen. The iPhone remains a highly popular product in the Japanese market. Attention is focused on what impact this price increase will have on consumer purchasing demand. Apple is expected to continue monitoring exchange rate trends as it considers its pricing strategy going forward. EU proposes relaxing emissions trading system rules, considering industry concerns. The European Union's executive body announced on the 17th a proposal to relax emissions regulations under the emissions trading system, which allows companies to trade carbon dioxide emission allowances. Until now, the EU has been strengthening its climate change measures, but concerns have grown that strict environmental regulations could weaken the international competitiveness of European companies. This proposal responds to requests from the industry and examines regulatory relaxation measures. The move reflects the EU's attempt to balance the promotion of environmental policy with economic growth. Nasdaq index falls over 2% amid concerns over Chinese AI development. The Nasdaq stock index on the 17th fell over 2% at one point on the New York Stock Exchange. The announcement of a new AI model by a Chinese startup has sent ripples through the market. While American companies have continued to make massive investments in artificial intelligence development, growing investor concerns about rapid technological advances by Chinese companies have led to a surge in sell orders. Stock prices of high-tech companies are broadly declining, putting downward pressure on the overall Nasdaq index. Market analysts believe that intensifying international competition over AI technology may influence stock price movements going forward. U.S. launches seventh consecutive attack on Iran as agreement becomes meaningless, concerns over escalating crisis. The U.S. military has carried out 7 consecutive days of attacks against Iran. Although a memorandum of understanding had existed between the two nations to prevent conflict, repeated attacks are reportedly rendering that agreement ineffective. Iran has strongly objected, sternly warning the United States that, if American attacks continue, we will enter a phase of full-scale offensive. The international community is increasingly concerned that this tense situation could deteriorate further and escalate into a larger-scale military confrontation. With the need to prevent destabilization in the Middle East, dialogue-based solutions to the crisis have become an urgent priority. U.S. Trade Representative Greer says new tariff measures targeting Japan and others will take several weeks to finalize. The deadline for the 10% tariff measures that the Trump administration has imposed on a broad range of countries and regions is approaching next week on the 24th. Regarding new tariff measures to replace these, the U.S. Trade Representative Greer stated that it will take several weeks to reach a conclusion. Japan and other affected countries need to closely monitor developments to understand the details of the new measures. Greer's remarks suggest the possibility that negotiations over the tariff measures could be prolonged. Each country will carefully watch how the situation unfolds going forward. U.S. military concludes 7 consecutive nights of airstrikes on Iran. U.S. Central Command announced on the evening of the 17th that it had completed 7 consecutive nights of attacks on Iran at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. U.S. forces deployed fighter jets, unmanned aerial vehicles, naval ships, and other weapons, the statement said. Central Command said on social media that its forces attacked surveillance outposts, military supply infrastructure, underground weapons storage facilities, and maritime capabilities. In response, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, announced that 2 oil tankers were destroyed in explosions while transiting a minefield in the Strait of Hormuz. However, U.S. Central Command denied this, saying, like most IRGC claims, this is false. Iranian forces also claim to have attacked multiple U.S. military facilities across the Gulf region, including in Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, and Syria, marking the first time Syria was mentioned as a target. The United States denied these claims. According to Iranian state media, explosions were heard in the central city of Yazd, Keshem Island, and Bandar Abbas port adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz. The Jordanian military announced it had intercepted 10 missiles fired from Iran into its airspace overnight, with no casualties or material damage reported. Smoke from Canada's massive wildfires reaches the United States. Trump threatens additional tariffs. With hundreds of wildfires continuing across Canada and their smoke affecting the northeastern United States, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened on the 17th to impose additional tariffs on Canada. According to Canada's Wildfire Information System, approximately 890 fires were burning across the country as of the 17th, with the majority remaining uncontrolled. Ontario province has seen over 190 fires, some of which are uncontrolled. In response to this situation, Trump wrote on his social media platform Truth Social that, America is being invaded unnecessarily, dirtily, polluted and unhealthy air, and threatened to impose additional tariffs against Canada's deliberate negligence. He also wrote that he would call Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to demand an explanation regarding the country's deliberate negligence, criticizing Canada for not properly managing its forests and brush.